hurt your eyes or get them poked. A fresh hour of The Jump starts right now. Welcome, in fact, to The Jump. I'm Rachel Nichols alongside, that's NBA champ, Matt Barnes right there. Welcome, sir. That's the undefeated Mark Spears in the flesh. We're so glad to have you back in the studio. And, of course, our senior writer, Ramona Shelburne, back with us as well. We got the full plate for you guys today. We will get into KD's historic Game 5 in a little bit. But we got to start with an eventful day of NBA news. And that means starting with the LA Clippers, who announced Kawhi Leonard is not only out of tonight's pivotal Game 5 against the Jazz with a right knee sprain, is what they're calling it right now, but he is out indefinitely. Now, remember, he appeared to tweak his knee during the fourth quarter of Monday's win. He sat out the final few minutes. Ramona, you were the one reporting on this story for us as it broke. What can you tell us about this injury?
Well, this is a cause for concern, Rachel. I mean, I didn't think he was all that injured in the game because he came out, he was sitting on the bench. There was no trainer attending to him. He wasn't on the injury report in the morning.
And he talked about it after the game.
And he said, I don't want to talk about it. Next question. So, with Kawhi, that could mean anything.
Say, I'm fine, next question?
Yeah, I'm fine, next question.
He said, I'm fine. Next question.
Yeah.
So that's what we heard after the game.
Yeah, he seemed okay. He answered a bunch of questions, seemed to be in an okay mood. Last night, I kind of got worried that the situation that they got bad news on whatever imaging they had done or tests they had done during the day. The fear, Rachel, is that this involves the ACL, which is a ligament in your knee. They're calling it a sprain for right now, but they need to do some more imaging to determine how severe this is, because when you have an injury in a game, Matt, you know this, it swells up the next day. And it's hard to determine exactly which ligaments are involved here, how serious this is. So right now they're calling this a right knee sprain, but they need to do some more tests to see how severe this is. I think right now the Clippers are prepared to be without him tonight and most likely for the rest of this series.
And look,
let's see how severe it is.
Sprain, especially an ACL, you want to err on the side of caution. So he could, and you hate to say it, could be done for the playoffs.
Right. And look, we saw, again, I think with the Kevin Durant experience in the NBA Finals a couple years ago looms over every decision that every NBA team is making now, right? If there is something that looks, this could be bad, involving an area of your body where, oh my gosh, we could have long-term effects that could knock you out, not just for the rest of the playoffs, but maybe for a year or two, that timeline gets longer and longer.
Yes.
That is some of the concern with saying, just go out there and play. It's such an important time of year. Matt, we know now on the other side, by the way, that the Jazz's Mike Conley is also out tonight. His hamstring, of course, has been keeping him out for a while now.
Right.
I don't know if the Jazz saw that. He was questionable originally. I don't know if the Jazz saw the Clippers injury report and were like, maybe we don't need to rush Mike Conley back. That's just me speculating. But, Matt, what do you think that the Clippers need to do there, at least tonight, going out without Kawhi Leonard?
They need to rally around their team right now. Paul George is 1A now, and he's been playing well of late. You just hate to see this because Kawhi has these guys playing so well. Although they went in a 2-0, down 0-2, they've come back in convincing fashion the last two games and really have everyone thinking that they're on their way to the Western Conference Finals. So this is a huge blow to the team. But one good thing for Coach Lue is he has a very deep team. Obviously, you can't replace a guy like Kawhi with one or two players, but by committee, hopefully they can get some of his numbers and the defensive presence he normally brings every night.
And PG, he averaged 26 when Kawhi's out, 5 more shots a game. Terrence Mann, this is your time. Moore Sr., this is your time. But I'm looking at hotels in Salt Lake City for the West Finals right now. Park City or down. Kawhi is the reason why they're here.
Yes.
He is their Superman, and he's been so much more aggressive this series and at the end of last series. I think Paul has it in him, but we need to see some special performance from him like we saw from Kevin Durant last night for the Clippers to survive, and that still might not be enough.
Right. And I mean, by the way, we need to see like what we saw from Kevin Durant last night. That's a nice sentence
That's a lot, right?
No pressure, no pressure. No pressure.
That was an extremely historic performance, a tall order, and by the way, from a guy who is considered possibly the best in the game right now. I'm not sure that Paul George, a lot of that should be put on his plate as well. We will see. We have to move on because we have so much that happened this morning. As The Athletic first reported, Chris Paul.
What they want. What a show we have for you today. A historic, legendary performance from Kevin Durant to give the Nets a critical Game 5 victory. But we have some breaking news in the NBA, and it is not good for the Los Angeles Clippers. Kawhi Leonard has notified his teammates they need to be ready for him not to be available in not just Game 5, but potentially the entire series. That is the play in which he tweaked that right knee. Jalen, what is the impact of missing Kawhi on this series?
Injury and luck always plays a factor with who advances in the playoffs and ultimately who wins the championship. This season seems different because it's the superstar players on the teams. It's Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers. It's an all-NBA guy like Anthony Davis missing for the Lakers. And Kawhi not being with the Clippers, that distinctly means I go from thinking that they're going to win this series to anticipating they're going to lose this series. That's the impact of the Kawhi Leonard injury. Because the Utah Jazz had the #1 record in the entire NBA. They broke a record for three-point shots. And yet, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George finally seem to be hitting their stride. They had back-to-back 30-point games each. Morris knocked down a ton of threes. Kawhi was dunking on people and really playing with ferocity. So without him, it's really unfortunate for the league and for the Clippers, and obviously I feel bad for Kawhi. Hopefully it's not a serious injury, but if he's not able to return in this series, they will not advance.
I agree. And 9 All-Stars have missed time in this postseason, which is just an unconscionable number. But Jalen, I also agree, missing Kawhi Leonard, he is the key to this team. Paul George is inconsistent. Kawhi Leonard is the opposite. He's always there for them. He's always getting 30 points. He's always locking down on defense, and they will not have him, and they will not advance if they don't have him for the rest of this series. That is not the only bad news for NBA fans. Another Western Conference superstar will be sidelined potentially. That is Chris Paul, who is now in the COVID-19 protocol. It is important to note that at this point, right now, we do not know the impact of that. Will he miss a couple days? Will he be available Game 1 of the Western Conference? Or will he miss the entire series? We don't know the severity of his testing positive or contact tracing. But Jalen, if they don't have him, what will that mean?
Well, we had Jay Crowder on the show yesterday, and he talked about the impact of Chris Paul and how it's not about statistics. But I want to tell you something that you missed with Chris Paul. His fourth quarter brilliance. Like, what he's done during the game is basically set up the chessboard and set the table so Bridges can eat, so Ayton can eat, so we can make Booker feel comfortable. And then in the fourth quarter, he became Mariano Rivera, the closer, keeping his turnovers down, his efficiency up, and his leadership has been unquestioned. And so this one isn't so doom and gloom for me, however, like Kawhi, because today's Wednesday. Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals either is going to be Sunday or Tuesday. I don't anticipate he's going to be out longer than a week. So for me, if he's going to miss, I believe it would be maximum 1 game. And again, this is only anticipation. But either way, I believe he will return to play most of the next round.
Yes, it is important to know that there's certain, like a contact tracing investigation can last a couple